All right, we're just a couple of minutes too, but we're going to kick off now so that we make sure we don't run out of time today because obviously it's a really big topic. It's been very popular. It's been wonderful to see so many of you registered and have Sam with us here tonight. Thank you for being here. So this month's Swings and Roundabouts with Business Station is all about using AI in your LinkedIn profile and in your LinkedIn presence. If you haven't met me before, my name's Trinity James. I'm part of the team here at Business Station. I'll be your host tonight. But before we jump in, a quick bit of housekeeping. I mentioned that we're running this webinar just for 30 minutes, but it is such a big topic. So if you have any questions, please put them in the chat. We're going to compile all of these, and Sam has very generously offered to come back to us with some more detailed responses to all of those questions. So please use that chat and rest assured that those questions will be followed up following the webinar. And yes, the recording will also be shared with everyone who's registered. So you can come back to it later or you can pass it on to a colleague. That email will be going out by the end of the week. So now we're excited to have Sam. I mentioned before, Sam Cochrane. He's an experienced marketer, digital strategist. Sam specializes in helping businesses build their presence online. And I know he's been experimenting with AI tools like ChatGPT and Gemini from the early days. So he's really developed some really practical, down-to-earth ways that small business owners can save time and still keep their content really authentic and on brand for them. Sam's style himself is really hands-on, it's practical because he knows the reality of small business life here in Australia himself. So you're really in for a valuable session. So please join me in welcoming Sam, and I will pass across to you now.
Great. Okay, thank you. Cool. All right, let me just share my screen and we'll jump into it. As I was saying to Trinity, it's a big topic. We only have half an hour, so I do want to jump straight through. Let me know when you guys can all see that, or Josh Trinity can let me know.
Absolutely, that's perfect.
Awesome. Okay, so as we said, this is using AI for LinkedIn specifically. We can use it for all of our social media presence, but yeah, specifically for LinkedIn as small business owners, for your brands, for you as your own personal brand, as well as the voice of your brand, as your company. So yeah, and just a quick note to drop any questions that you do have into the chat. We're going to compile them all at the end if we've got enough time to go through them, and if not, we will organize a way for me to answer them and send it out to you guys afterwards. So just a quick agenda. Oh, is that on the agenda slide now?
No, that's just frozen on the introduction slide.
Okay. I think it's like a step behind on mine for some reason. All right, just give me a second. How about now?
Oh, there we go. There's the agenda. Beautiful.
Okay. So so we're just going to quickly run through some key definitions and then jump into the practical uses for AI and do a real-time example, slightly real-time, and then go through a bit of how we can use AI for data analysis as well, and then a wrap-up and QA, and then a big question. So first, let's just quickly jump into the talking about these two platforms. We've got LinkedIn and we've got AI. So obviously just some quick definitions. So nice and might be very obvious, but LinkedIn, the world's largest professional networking site. It's used for building a professional profile, for networking, for recruitment, for job hunting. And in more recent times, it's become the hub for keeping up with industry content, events, and even upskilling. Okay. It's currently got over 1 billion users in 200 countries around the world. But I think it's really key just to talk about those, what it's actually used for, because I think a lot of people really only scratch the surface with LinkedIn and what it can be used for. A lot of people just jump on there to lurk and see, what's going on and never actually use it to its full potential. AI, on the other hand, or LLMs, which we want to get into. So you've obviously got artificial intelligence or large language models, okay? And they are the more readily available version of AI for everyday people like us. And they are... in short, they are a friendly version of deep learning, which is trained on text and code data sets to understand, process human-like language. That should just be one process, obviously. The most popular of these, which you'll all have heard of, is ChatGPT, Google Gemini. You might have heard of DeepSeek, Claude, and Grok as well. They all work in very, very similar ways, but can outperform the other in specific ways. Some are better at really high process reasoning. Some are better at code based things like that. I'm not going to get into that specific stuff. Not important for tonight. So, as I said, first off, I just want to start with a question, something that I want you to think about throughout the whole presentation, and we'll obviously answer it at the end. But when it comes to LinkedIn and how you use LinkedIn, what do you think is the most valuable part of it, and how you talk as a voice and a brand? Do you think it's attention or authenticity? Okay, and I want you to just hang on to that for the rest of the presentation. So, let's look at all the different ways that we can use LinkedIn. This is just the overview. We'll obviously jump into each one, but as you can see, there are many. You've got content, we've got making posts, repurposing, research and writing, engaging with your network, and then optimizing for reach. Because as I said, it's the number one business platform. So there's obviously a great way to actually get your message across to your brand, to your audience, your brand to your audience. And engage with them on a day-to-day basis. We've obviously got a lot of other social media platforms, but LinkedIn is the one where you can actually engage with other businesses, and they want to be spoken to and communicated in that really professional manner. And that's where the business owner or the voice of the business comes in as well, because that you as a brand, as a personal brand, is actually even more valuable and can be more powerful than the brand itself. Okay. So for content ideation and strategy, the main steps, I guess, are using the AI of your choice. Again, I would encourage you to try all of them, find which one you like the best. I'm a big advocate of ChatGPT. I think it's just the most powerful at the moment for the biggest range of things that need to be done. Basically, I'm not doing any coding. I'm not building any websites and things like that. So I don't need something that's more nuanced in that area. I just need something that's a lot more versatile. Okay, so going through checking global trending topics. If hopefully, first of all, everybody has LinkedIn and they know how the basics of the platform. So you'll know that there is a topic, there is a section where you can see what is trending. You'll also know your own audience's pain points, and you'll even have news and things that you want to share about your company. All right. So these are the in the most basic form, these are the easiest places to start brainstorming ideas. Okay. So putting these things into one of the AI platforms and actually starting to generate and literally just brainstorming hundreds or however many pieces of content that you could write. And I'm talking just like headlines at the moment, just to get ideas. So a simple prompt or example prompt that you might give it would be generate a LinkedIn post for my small business that promotes my new product line. Now, this is obviously, there's no context here, and I've deliberately left that very vague just to show you what the output was. Okay, you can see how stereotypical it is, I guess. It's trying to be very, trying to tell a story. It's trying to be a bit too cliche. Okay, so the thing is that AI is not black magic that just knows everything about you, okay? So that's why it just gave something really, really generic, and that's a fundamental truth. So it really does have to be trained, okay? So that leads us to how do you create these posts that sound like you? And I'll start with that middle one. You need to train your AI model, all right? You need to teach it how to write like you, and you need to do that by feeding it previous posts that you've written, as well as your company website, any white papers that you've published, any of your other social media content, anything that is you or your brand. You like I said, you want to kind of separate those two because your brand might speak differently than you do. So you want to make that distinction between the two and how you want to come across on LinkedIn in those two. Maybe you've got somebody else doing your actual brand posts, but for you as your personal brand, you want to train it to speak like you. You want to use the AI to brainstorm your content. Now, what I mean by that is, if you're not the most creative, you can actually use AI to write these punchy one-liners, these puns and anecdotes and things like that. But then you need to turn it into your style. Okay. So again, training it on your previous content and things like that. And then use it to, as I already said, to generate hundreds of these, so scalability. AI can knock these things out in seconds, as opposed to when we used to do it manually. We used to spend days, one first week of every month basically was planning out content for the next month, which is obviously a huge time suck. So using it to actually test out different iterations, different variations and things like that is actually much, much more valuable for you as a business owner. The other thing it's great for is repurposing. So again, many people only think that LinkedIn is about posts. So this first vertical here, the most common form of content, basically, which is when you share your own thoughts for everybody to read. But there's many different forms. And the great thing about AI is you only need to write that content once. And when I say write it, I mean AI can help you write it. You can personalize it, and then you can repurpose it across these different variations, because there's different metrics of engagement for each of these. For a carousel, you've got much more visual and an engaging form of content, but it can be hard to create. So many people actually avoid doing it because you do need quite a few different images to actually make a carousel. But obviously, with AI, we can make these images at scale, much, much quicker. And again, you can train it to be on brand and generate near perfect images every time. They obviously need some edits. Articles, a longer form content, so that does require research and fact checking and original thought behind it, but you can get the bones of it built, written for you by AI. So you'll probably see heaps of these already on your LinkedIn. Any top voices that you follow will be writing articles because they're long form content. People want to engage and read through that and follow trusted voices on the platform that they respect. And then finally, comments. So people who actually, again, I talked about at the start about people who use LinkedIn just to lurk and just to see what's happening, but to actually get a really good return on investment in what you're doing on LinkedIn, you need to be putting in the time to comment as well. And when I say comment, I don't just mean saying, hey, that was a great post, or just giving a thumbs up, but actually reading through what you are reading the post that they are writing or the article, and then actually having a conversation and committing to maybe they might comment back, other people might comment. So, using social media for what it was actually intended for when it was first made. The next thing is your research and writing. So as we talked about, AI can process so much of these long form content very, very quickly. It can generate it very, very quickly as well. So you can use that for your research and your writing. So get articles, you can post, you can copy and paste in direct links and websites and things like that, and ask AI to actually create summaries for you for these articles, okay? Or even your competitors' posts, so that you can learn what they're doing and how they're actually engaging on LinkedIn specifically. You can generate stats, examples, analogies, all that are relevant to your content and that you can then repurpose back for your audience. And then use it as that first pass researcher. Okay, so what I mean by that is getting the AI to do the bones of the content, okay, but then adding your own perspective. Because what we find is that, and you'll know this yourself, we've seen a huge amount of AI generated slop, as it's been called, on LinkedIn. And I've got an example in a minute to show the sort of telltale signs. So you need to actually not just copy and paste what it generates for you, what that output is, because people can tell. AI has been around now for about 3 years. Everyone's getting pretty savvy on what looks like AI content. So you do need to just use it as that research tool or writing tool, and then put your own perspective on things. So the next thing that you can use it for is engaging with your network. So as I talked about before, one of the first things is creating thoughtful replies. So instead of just liking posts or saying great posts, you can actually take the post, the content that they've posted, whether it be an article or even a post, and you can use it to put that into the AI model, and it'll generate that reply for you. Okay, but I think what's really important here is using it to actually generate a template, not a response every time. Because if you're using it to generate a comment on every post that you want to comment on, it's going to take you a long time to copy that content into AI and then copy that comment back again. So instead, use it to generate these templates that you can actually use, so that you can make quick replies depending on what the post is or what the content was. Okay. And the other thing was suggesting questions. So as I said, not just doing closed comments, but actually opening up questions for other people to comment in, or for the author of the original post to comment back, because that's where you're going to start engaging with people that you really look up to and respect, that you may never have been able to get in the door with before. Okay, if they think that you are somebody worth talking to because you've obviously read their content and you've got great insights and you want to add your own perspective on it, then this is a great way to do that at scale. And then finally, when it comes to recruitment, which we haven't really touched on yet, but using in-mail messages. Okay, so these are when you reach out to people and you want to go straight into their inbox. Again, you see a lot of the AI generated ones that just don't, they're not actually that appealing. You can tell straight away that they haven't even looked at your profile half the time because they don't know your job title or your proper name or anything like that. But, again, using AI to build a template for communicating with different, job roles that you might have going. So you can create a template for each of those, or if it's, recruitment, or maybe it's an outreach for a business meeting or whatever it may be. You can use this again at scale to create hundreds of these, and that way you can just grab them whenever you need them. Okay. The last one, I think, is optimizing for reach and engagement. So as I said, experimenting, okay? Don't take the first output that you get from your AI model as gospel. Use it to test and experiment with different headline variations, different hooks, different hashtags, different commentary and things like that, because it will again learn as you prompt it and you correct it and tell it what it is in your voice or in your brand's voice. And then you can actually use those and post on different days or comment in different ways and different posts and see what's actually resonating with your audience. Okay. Use it for alternative opening lines. We said that. Pretty much covered all those. Okay, so we'll do a quick test now. So this is one that I did earlier. I was thinking about doing this live, but I thought there was just too many things that it could generate. It might just take too long. So I gave it this prompt earlier today. Okay, short LinkedIn post using best practice style and structure for me to promote this upcoming webinar titled Using AI for LinkedIn. All right. So this is what the output was. So as you can probably see straight away, the biggest giveaway that this was written by AI are these emojis. Okay, I don't know why ChatGPT loves this rocket emoji. Okay, and then the finger pointing one halfway down, and then the date and the links ones later on. All right, now this was a really great starting point. Okay, you can see how short and sweet my prompt was. Okay, and this is what it just came up with. All right, obviously it knows a lot about AI, so it was able to do that pretty easily. But what I then wanted to do is this would be going on my personal LinkedIn. Okay, so I then took this as a basis and I rewrote it the way I talk and the way I talk to my audience on LinkedIn and how I communicate. So this is the cleaned up version. All right, so I'll just run through it. So I've finally decided to become a public speaker. Next week, I'm going to be hosting a live webinar called Using AI for LinkedIn, where I'll share some practical ways that business owners can use AI tools to scale their reach, engagement, and efficiency with LinkedIn. As we know, AI and LLMs are changing the way that brands and business owners use LinkedIn for better or for worse. Let's debate that. But I've noticed that people are still confused on how to actually use it to your advantage instead of sounding obnoxious. If you're a passive LinkedIn lurker and you want to get more from the platform and unlock its potential for your brand, then join us on Wednesday. Okay, so you can see that you probably can tell just from the 20 minutes we've been talking that that's a lot more in line with how I communicate. So this is obviously, like I said, taking a very generic version that AI can spit out, and then just this took me 5 minutes to actually do because I didn't have to do all the research and actually write all of that info, but just edit it. Okay. So the last one then I want to talk about is your data and analytics. If you've been using LinkedIn for a while, you may have noticed that you're writing a lot of content, or you're sending a lot of in-mail messages, or even doing all your comments and things like that, but you don't actually know if it's working. So what's great now is, and you might be using the metrics that LinkedIn provides in its insights. However, it can be hard sometimes to actually, if you don't know what you're looking for, it can be really hard to see if you're making an impact or not. So as I said here, AI is often thought of as a content engine, but in truth, it can be a super powerful analytics machine as well. So it can be used to summarize post performance, identify patterns and trends, recommend to you any adjustments that you can make. It can be used for benchmarking and forecasting for your next batch of content, and then creating a story, okay, around. What I mean by that is around that content, and so that you can actually interpret it and see how you're performing. So it is essential to use the stats from the content that you've already posted to measure and assess what's working. AI can spot the patterns that the human eye might miss, like the best time of day, the best to post, the best format. Like I said, if you're trying your carousels or your long form articles, or the best types of topics that are actually resonating with your audience. So you can then prompt it to make the recommendations for improvements, forecast your results, and then turn your data into a story to make it make sense. And finally, there's mitigating risks. So this is obviously a very, it's not controversial AI, but people are obviously still very skeptical of it. So I just wanted to go through a couple of things to make sure that you can mitigate those risks. So thoroughly checking and second guessing everything that's been written. All right. So AI is really good, but it isn't perfect. All right. And there's a good analogy that it is a really good co-pilot, but it should not be thought of as autopilot. Okay. So everything that it does provide to you, make sure you do read it thoroughly. Don't just copy and paste it. Any facts or figures that it provides, double check them. It's getting its information from other sources, so you can actually always fact check what it's provided, and you can ask it for where it got its sources if it hasn't provided that. Always edit to ensure that your voice comes through and in a way that only you can tell. Okay, so again, with LinkedIn, people want to hear from you, not from the AI model. They can all do that themselves. They can all prompt their own AI to do exactly what you've done, but you need to put your own spin on it. Okay, so anything you get back, go through it thoroughly, edit it, make it how you talk, not how AI talks. Don't be generic or automated or cliche. So again, any of those emojis that came out of my post, or it's always got cliches. It's always got M dashes. You've probably seen those. Those are the long ones. Always very telltale sign that somebody's been using AI. And disguising sensitive data. So this is always people are always scared to put data into or names or things like that into any AI model. This is how it learns. So if you are worried about putting any brand information in there or figures or facts and things like that, you can just disguise it where possible. Use a pseudonym name if you need to, and then you can always change it back when you're in your editing. It's if you are worried at all about that. Cool. So back to our question. What do you think is more valuable on LinkedIn, attention or authenticity? Maybe we should have done a poll on this, but so the truth really is attention is what gets you seen and authenticity is what makes people say. So when it comes to AI, it is brilliant at helping you get attention through hooks, through headlines and scalability. But being authentic is the part that only you can bring. So you need to add your own voice, your own perspective, and your own lived experience. Hopefully that's come through in the presentation, that it is really equal parts of both, but only one can be done by AI. And so the best way to use AI isn't actually to replace you, but to amplify you. Okay. So the final takeaways then, AI is your co-pilot, not your replacement. Use it to save time, not to lose your voice. All right. Repurpose smarter to engage faster. So using it to brainstorm, to draft and recycle content with much less effort. Numbers can guide, okay, but stories connect. So let AI bring up the patterns, find the details that you might not see, but then you've got to add your own lived experience to create something relatable. And at the end of the day, authenticity is greater than attention. Okay. I did say they were equal a minute ago, but what I mean by this is authenticity is greater because, we are greater than the AI. So it will help you get seen. All right. It will get the information out there, but only you can make it feel real. All right. And at the end of the day, that's what's going to connect with people on LinkedIn. You could sit and write 100 posts through AI, but it doesn't mean that you're actually going to get the reach and the engagement that you're looking for unless you actually put your own spin on it. Okay. And that was it. I got through that quite quickly. I think I talked very fast.
No, that was wonderful, and you weren't interrupted because I stayed quiet.
No.
There you go, that helps. That
Yeah.
was really helpful, Sam. So yeah, guys, jump in if you've got any questions because we do have just 1 or 2 minutes spare at the end here. So if you've got any questions, we can have a look at those now. But yeah, Sam, really appreciate those insights. That was really fantastic. I loved the practical
No
ideas
worries.
there for how, yeah, like obviously we've got some stuff that we can use AI straight away with now without losing our human voice. I really loved that focus on how important remaining authentic is because at the end of the day, like people buy from people they know and like, right? And if we're
Yeah,
just being a
absolutely.
perfect AI robot, you lose that opportunity to connect.
Yeah. No, definitely.
Yeah, so thank you so much. And
No
guys,
problem.
before you head off, and yeah, keep putting your questions in the chat, that's fine. But we've got a few more upcoming events and workshops that I just want to let you know about as well that are designed to support you in your business journey. So we've got She Brew Success coming up in Stirling. That's a breakfast for women in small business that combines some coaching and mentoring with some networking as well. So if you haven't got that in your diary yet, it's on the 14th of October. Make sure you register for that. And keep an eye on our website. We and our newsletters. We always update that with the latest sessions that are coming up. The final thing that I want you to know about today as well, if you haven't already, check out our virtual membership. So this gives you access to a professional business address, discounted meeting rooms, networking events, plenty of support. It's a really good way to stay connected and take advantage of Business Station's community while also giving yourself that extra ranking on Google with a professional business address, even if you're just working from home or on the go. Great. Thanks, Sam. Is there anything that you'd like to wrap up with, or are you happy?
No, I was just going to say, I do have, there is one question that's come through, which I think has maybe come through twice. No, let me see. Okay, so first one is just from Dot. It says, when you say train the AI with your tone, content, etc. So that is literally feeding it the content that you have already written by either giving it the URL or just directly copy and pasting any content that you have written and providing it with those prompts that this is content that I've written in the past. This is how I communicate, but making sure it's a variation. So my ChatGPT is I've given it all my past LinkedIn posts. I've given it every white paper that I've excuse me, every white paper I've written, any websites, any other content basically that I've ever written. Hang on.
Grab a glass of water.
Yeah. So that's literally just telling it so that when it now gives me any output, now that I've said, write this in my style, it comes back without emojis, without any of the, cliches. It talks very conversational the way I do, unless I prompt it to actually give me something much more professional. But yeah, it's literally as not as simple as that. It does take a bit of time. But yeah, it's just basically like that.
Absolutely. A great tip with that as well, Sam, which I've used in the past. Like if you've done any speaking gigs like Sam's doing tonight, grab the recording, get the transcript from it, and you can drop that straight into ChatGPT. And all
Yeah.
of a sudden, you've got 30 minutes of your spoken word, speaking about your area of expertise in the way that you talk. And that can be real gold to help train it as well.
Yes. Yeah. So I'm just reading another question here. I'm just trying to.
So there's one here, Sam, just about you mentioned to add the human touch after the first.
Yeah, that's what I'm just reading. But I also mentioned for ChatGPT to learn your style, can't it redo the posts with prompts? Does that mean like redoing the posts that so if we write the posts as a human and then get ChatGPT to redo them, or
For further iterations.
So like yeah, further iterations of that post, like can it do that? Definitely. I might not be getting this question right, sorry. But send it through, and I will. Trinity's going to put them. Any other questions that anybody has, by the way, do send them through, and Trinity will send them to me, and I can reply.
Wonderful. And we've got some thank yous coming through as well, Sam. People
I
saying
saw.
that they're going
Thanks,
to be
everybody.
more active on LinkedIn. So that's wonderful.
Yeah, great. Yeah, look, any other questions, guys? I'm very happy to answer and get them back to you somehow. And yeah, thanks very much for having me.
Wonderful. Oh, well, thank you again, Sam. And behalf of the whole team here at Business Station, thank you everyone for spending part of your day with us here. We look forward to seeing you at the next one. And until then, have a great time playing around with your LinkedIn.
Yeah, thanks.
Have a great night. Thank you, everyone. Bye for now.
Bye.